Hi, I'm Steve. You can call me Steve. A few episodes ago, I talked about carbohydrates and why eating too many of the wrong kind could be bad for you. What I didn't talk about was what that wrong kind was. As it turns out, it's a little more complicated than calling one type of sugar good and one kind of sugar bad. I should start talking about what the two types are. For the purposes of this video, we're ignoring the 101 other types of sugars and just focusing on these two. Glucose is the most commonly available form of simple sugar, and it looks like this. All of these black things are carbons, and these red bits are oxygen. It's the fuel your cells burn to power all of the things that cells do. There's a whole complicated process of chemical reactions to break this thing down into carbon dioxide and water, and release its stored energy in a controlled manner. I've said before that your cells burn sugars the same way a car's engine burns gasoline. But it's not exactly the same. Setting this on fire will release energy, but not in a way that does you any good. Glucose is also a building block used to make starches and roughage, and also the shells of crabs and lobsters and insects and things. It's a versatile little molecule, and the fact it can be turned into starch means it can be stored in your liver and released as needed when your cells demand energy. Because it can be stored, it means it's not floating around free in your bloodstream, and that means your blood sugar can be maintained at a constant level, rather than spiking right after you eat and then falling when you're hungry. If you're diabetic, you understand far better than I the importance of stable blood sugar levels. Glucose is the most abundant sugar and is the standard against which all other sugars are judged. This, on the other hand, is fructose. Again, black represents carbon, red represents oxygen, and the blue and the green also represent oxygen because I don't have enough red balls. It's got a 5-sided ring, whereas glucose had 6, and it's got more sticky out bits. It's still a sugar though, and also a source of fuel. There are some differences. First off, while fructose can be stored like glucose can, it's a lot harder to do. I mentioned that complicated process of reactions to turn glucose into energy. At one point along the pathway, there's a fork. One branch goes towards storing it for later. The other branch goes towards using it now, and that second branch leads straight to fructose. This turns into this. However, this means that fructose is downstream of the branch that leads to storage. What's worse is that it comes in at a point where there's no inhibition on the following reaction. The buildup of waste products from the end of the process will stop this step from happening, but there's nothing to stop the next step from happening, which means there's nothing to stop fructose from going all the way to the end of the process, whether you need the energy or not. All this is happening in your liver. The liver can do a lot of other things as well, which includes building fats out of the wreckage of dismantled sugars. As a side note, I'm a chemist. I'm used to doing reactions step by step in beakers and flasks and laboriously cleaning up after each step. Reactions in your body happen with the help of enzymes, which are just things that make chemical reactions happen really fast, really clean, produce really specific products, and make all sorts of weird and wonderful things that you can't easily get to using beakers and flasks, like building fats out of sugars. I hate enzymes. Where was I? Yes, making fats. It was noted that the increased use of high fructose corn syrup in North American diets corresponded strongly with the increased girth in North American waistlines. Suddenly, we were eating a lot of this, which we know can result in the formation of fats, and we were getting fat. So it was natural to suspect a connection. The studies looking into this used rats. Rats are used a lot in medical research because their biochemistry is very similar to ours, but it's not identical. In this particular case, rat livers are really good at turning this fructose into fat, whereas our livers aren't. It's not even close. This was one rare instant where the rat model didn't work. Also, the sugar in high fructose corn syrup is 55% fructose. In fruits, it's closer to 80%. Fructose is fruit sugar. The name comes from the Latin word for fruit. If fructose contributed to obesity, nectarines would be incredibly fattening, but we know they're not. Further studies have found that there isn't any link between fructose or any of the health effects it's been blamed for. It turns out that if you're eating a lot, then fructose is linked to negative health effects. But that isn't the fructose, it's because you're eating a lot. The fructose turning into fats things only matters if you're already eating more calories than you need. I've said it before, moderation in all things. It's not a case of one particular part of your diet being bad for you, but rather a case of you eating way too much. Certain segments of American society have raised overeating to an art form, and conspicuous consumption is a way of proving your masculinity. Personally, I've never been able to put away a meal the size of my head, and I think I'm doing okay. That's something else. That's fructose. It's not the devil's sugar I thought it was when I started writing this script. The matter isn't clearly cut and dried though, because there are a lot of professional biochemists who can't agree on whether or not it's healthy. Part of the problem with studying human biology is you can't control every aspect of the experiment. If I want to do a chemistry experiment, I can put a bunch of samples into little vials and then keep them locked in the lab so they all experience the exact same conditions. You can't do that with people, which means there are a lot of variables you can't control while they're out living their lives during a study. And that's where all this uncertainty comes in. I'm not casting doubt on biology as a field. Biologists have made incredible discoveries and advanced our understanding of how our bodies work. It might take them a little longer to reach that understanding, but they do get there in the end. Thanks for watching. I've been Steve.